Hello everyone and welcome to my booktube or whatever you want to call it. I'm Selin. I have been on Booksta for the last 4 years, I think. I'm currently in Turkey. I normally live in the Netherlands and I'm currently visiting my parents in Turkey. And I basically have nothing to do. So I thought, why not just start vlogging? We'll see whether this ends up being on the internet. Yeah. Welcome and just follow my days along. I'll give some updates of the books I'm reading because I have been reading 24/7. My favorite genres are, they used to be like last year. In the last 2 years, the genre I read most of was romance, but it has kind of dwindled down. I have been more into literary fiction. Historical fiction has always been a favorite genre of me, but currently I'm reading historical fiction, literary fiction, and speculative fiction. And one of my goals for this year was reading more nonfiction, specifically political and historical books. I also have been reading The Myth of American Idealism by Noam Chomsky and Nathan G. Robinson. And this is about all the things that the US did actually, and I only have 2 chapters left, and of course everyone knows that the US is just the reason of every bad thing, but reading this and the exact examples, and every time when we have a quote of a US official saying something disgusting, and it's like referenced, it's not just the author saying something, it's literally something that US officials have said, and it's kind of disgusting. Yeah, I'm reading this, but I'm like, at this point I was very excited at the beginning as well, and I still like it, but it's just at this point I'm just done with the US. Anyways, I also just finished the book Supersario, which is by Mariam El-Mehtati, and it's kindly given to me by HarperCollins. I finished that book, and to be honest, I expected much more because it's about a Moroccan Spanish girl living on Gran Canaria. And I was very excited because it sounded so cool. She is 25 and it's about her being an intern at a supermarket, like at the executive department of a supermarket chain, which is fun. And you read about her getting the job. And the thing is, it's no plot. It's just, I think it's either her diary entries or it's literally her thoughts, which is kind of boring. It is kind of boring. Until 60%, it was good. It was fun. You know, I'm reading a Gen Z. She's Gen Z. She's still Gen Z. And that, like, I love the funny remarks she did. And like, it was very relatable when it came to sexism and Islamophobia and everything. And it was good until 60%. But after that, I was like, I don't want to know anything more about your life, to be honest. I'm sorry. I would rather read something else. But then I was like, because I'm kind of feeling slumpy in my reading. When I mean I'm in a slumpy mood, it usually means I still read the same amount I normally read, but I kind of force myself through it. And after a while, if I get a good book, a good romance and whatever, I'll be back on track. But yeah, that's why I was like, I need to finish this book, because I also, when I was like 25% into this book, I was like, do I really want to continue this or do I want to start something else? I felt like I tried starting something else, but then I have like 2 books that I'm 25% in and I feel so all over the place and I don't want to start anything else after that as well. So I just was like, I need to finish this book right now so I can start something else, start fresh. And I'm also hoping to finish this book today so I can just start on a fresh slate tomorrow or just this evening. Yeah, I might be going to The Materialist today, to the movie with Dakota Johnson and Pedro Pascal and Chris Evans with my mom, but we'll see about that. I really don't want to leave the house. Like, me being in Antalya is my peak introvertness right now, because normally I like going out, but right now it's so hot and I hate the heat. I don't want to leave the house. I don't want to sweat. I don't want to drive. I hate driving and my mom makes me drive. I'm 21, by the way. And yeah, we'll see about that. I'll give you updates. I'll give you some clips of my life here. So we'll get to know each other. I did it. I'm done with this book. This is, like I've said, The Myth of American Idealism. It's kind of a textbook vibe. Also, I need to explain that this is divided into two parts. We have one part of like idealism in action, and the second part is just the power system. And in the idealism in action, there are so many like specific chapters where we have like the US's acts in, for example, in one chapter it's Russia, in one chapter is Afghanistan, and it goes on like this. And it's like for the idealism in action goes 8 chapters, which were pretty interesting to read. Like I don't want to say I had a lot of fun reading it. I was very much interested in it, and I liked the experience of reading this book. I have so many quotes that I underlined. Yeah, let's not get into that. And the second part is where it goes into the power systems. And for me, it was after the 7th chapter of the first part, it started to get boring. It has 11 chapters in total. And after the 7th chapter, after the 7th chapter, it kind of got to the point where I was like, this is getting too much, because it's a textbook about US's actions and it's only negative stuff. So after a while you get sucked, like the life energy is being sucked out of your body. So I would definitely recommend this book to anyone who's interested in politics. And specifically, Noam Chomsky and Nathan J. Robinson wrote this book for Americans. Like they say this multiple times, that this is like, they keep saying we need to change things, or this is our country. It like is especially for Americans out there. So if you're an American and interested in politics and want to learn more about the things that the US has done to other countries, you'll learn a lot in this book. I will not be rating this book because it's just a nonfiction and a textbook, so I don't feel like I should be rating this, so I will just not be rating this. But I very much enjoyed it, even though it gets a bit too negative. But I think if you divided, for example, an equal amount every day where you're going to be reading it, I think you can do it. It's just at some points I was very enthusiastic, so I just read 3 chapters one day, and then when you read 3 chapters one day, you get sucked, the energy is being sucked out of you faster. So I think if you read 1 chapter every day of this, it would be much easier. It's so hot in here. I also have my reading journal. I write the reviews of the books I read every single time, because I'm such a forgetful person. I will be forgetting about the book I read 2 weeks ago, so I have to write it, otherwise I won't be able to talk about it at all. And I buy my reading journals every time when one reading journal is done. When I travel, I buy the second reading journal from somewhere else. First reading journal was from Paris, from Versailles, and the second journal here is from Edinburgh, which I love. It's from the Gallery of Edinburgh. Yeah, I love that. I will be also writing into my reading journal my review of this book. And also, let's talk about the books I could be reading next. I took about 5 books with me on this vacation, physical books, and I've read most of it. I only have 2 left. One is Orientalism by Edward Said. I will be reading that in 2 or 3 days. I think I need to not read nonfiction for a while. And then I have Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I'm not sure whether I'm in the mood for like mythology and fantasy, so I'll be keeping that at the side right now. But I have a lot of e-arcs, so I was thinking, even though I am not in the biggest mood to read romance this year, I just downloaded this Strange Eventful History. It's about Algeria, and I think it's a family story again, generational story of Algeria. I was very curious to read that because I only heard good things about it. But I might, because I have so many e-arcs I need to read. I have about 20 e-arcs, more or less, to read. And I am very interested in Only Lovers in the Building by Nadine Gonzalez. It's like the name is like Only Murders in the Buildings, but it's like Only Lovers in the Building. And I think that it's iconic. And I think it's a very summery read. I don't know anything about it, by the way. I am kind of in the mood for romance because it's been like in Super Serio by Maria Melmettati, which I explained to you before. There was some romance, but it was like it was not a contemporary romance, that's what I can say. And right now I feel like I'm in a mood for it because it's getting too hot today and I just want to read something I can finish fast. Last week I read Pugs and Kisses, which was about two veterinarians in New Orleans, I think. It was so cute, like about the dog, because they also had dogs and whatever. That was so cute. I read that in a day, I think. So I'm not going to be trying to finish Only Lovers in a Building in a day, but I do want to read something that I'll be interested in the whole time. Even though I do lose interest in romances pretty fast when they get too emotional or too... If it's insta-lovey, I don't want it. I need slow burn. I know Only Lovers in the Building is not going to be slow burn. I don't really know, but I'm expecting kind of insta-love. Because most of the romances are insta-love, which is kind of sad. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Or maybe I'll just be in the mood for historical literary fiction once again. Because I don't know. I also have like this, it might sound weird because it's a lot about the writing for me as well. It doesn't make sense. Like, I just have to click with the writing. Even like, especially when I read fantasy books. If I don't click with the writing, if I don't get swept away to another land, I don't want to read it. Otherwise, I'm reading a fantasy book. I'm aware of that, and I'm currently at 33 degrees Celsius in Antalya, and it's scorching hot. I don't want to live that, you know. Anyways, you'll see what I'll be reading later on. I'm not in the mood to read right now, so I think I'll be watching like YouTube or something like that. It's also very much possible that I read something completely different than I told you guys. But I'm a mood reader, and if I'm not in the mood, I won't be reading that thing. I cannot, for the life of me, force myself to read a book that I'm not in the mood for. I'll be crying otherwise, I think. Just started Only Lovers in the Building, as you have seen, and I'm enjoying it very much. I'm on the first chapter, but it's about a lawyer who's in Miami for a conference, and then she decides to quit her job because she's just fed up with it, and then she decides to stay in Miami to just relax and have a holiday. And she meets a bartender, and we'll see how that goes. But I really like the writing right now. It's very I really like it. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Out, and now I'm just gonna have a quick shower. By the way, I also forgot to tell you guys that I'm currently also listening to an audiobook. That's because I have this one e-arc of Aftertaste. It's by Bloomsbury, and it was kindly also sent to me by Tandem Collective because they had an event of Bloomsbury in the beginning of May, I think it was, and I'm so sweaty. and they had like a readathon where we could read books, and Aftertaste was one of the books I thought of reading, but I did not read it at the time because the readathon was so densely packed and I had exams in that week. So I was like, I need to still read this book. And I started it. I got 25% in, which I also said before, I think, where I said I had like 2 books where I was 25% in, and Aftertaste was one of those books. And I was like, I need to read this. I cannot just stop reading just because I'm not in the mood, because it's an e-arc and because it's through NetGalley. NetGalley is a platform where you get e-arcs very easily, and you have a percentage of how many books you've reviewed out of how many books you've requested. And I have a lot of books I haven't read yet, and to be able to get those most anticipated releases, I need to have a high percentage. And that's why I was like, I need to read this book. And then I decided to, that's what I do with e-arcs that I don't enjoy as an ebook form. I decide, I start reading them as an audiobook, which I did now for Aftertaste. I'm currently listening to its audiobook. Yeah, that's the part. And by the way, only lovers in that building. You know how I said it's gonna be insta-lovey and whatever. By the way, I didn't read the blurb at all. It's like books based on covers mostly and the title and genre, but I don't really read the blurb. I didn't see, apparently someone wrote like it's a slow burn, even though it does not feel like a slow burn, it does feel like insta-lovey, but it's so cute. Like, I'm like 3 chapters in. I'm already ready to scream, giggle, kick my feet. Like, it's adorable. I don't know. It's so cute. Me telling you guys, I'll put something in there and me not putting anything and not even doing an outro. So here's me saying bye and maybe see you next week. I don't know what will be going on. So, yeah. And I'm sorry I was in my pajamas the whole day. So, should I even apologize? I don't know.